Hello, this is Mike Heiss back with the Big H podcast. We took a brief moment for a break so Ruthie could have some coffee. We were finishing up our podcast talking about Lisa Tidings and the effect that she had on it. And I agree with 100%. She wasn't a perfect person, but to be around Lisa was to be around energy
Yes,
and life. Yes. And at her ceremony or her fundraiser, I remember I had to leave early. And I said, "Hi, Lisa, I'm sorry I had to leave early." And she said, "I love you." And, you know, you say I love you to your family members and your children, but that friendship to friendship love, I'll never forget that. And when I was going through my trials and tribulations with cancer, she was my person. And she would come over and she gave me a chain for chemo to take off a chain each day for a treatment. And mine wasn't nearly as severe as hers. And we were basically going through stuff at the same time. And she was very, very, very inspirational through that. So we were talking about, I believe, and you can go back on the story a little bit, that God brought you two together in heaven through your struggles to help with her struggles and rocking babies on the porch.
Yeah.
Take it from there.
So we have this wonderful swing on the side porch that I told the kids once I had 3 books sold. I bought a swing for the side porch so we could sit and swing with the little ones. And that was at the same time that Lisa was going through her first round of treatments that first year when Brody was 14 months old. And so we had all these cute littles and we would go out there on the side porch, you know, whether she was going through her chemo or it was the radiation. And we would talk. And I remember one day someone had said to me, "We all pick our lives, you know, God lets us pick our lives." And I was like, "Oh, right, you got to be kidding me." Because I would have been a princess. I'm just going to go right out there and say this. It would have been Princess Ruthie. And Lisa said, "You know what?" She said, "You know, you're wrong." She said, "You know, you wouldn't have. You would have picked exactly what you did because you would have known that it would have made a difference to others later on." She said, "And I believe God put us together for that very reason." She said, "I believe that he probably was like, all right, Ruthie, you're going to have this like wretched childhood, but you're going to grow up to be a pretty cool person and you're going to work with kids and you're going to have an influence." And he's like, "Lisa, you're going to have this wonderful life and then you're going to get cancer and you're going to have to deal with." And she said, "I think you," and I looked at him and said, "Hell yeah." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, that is probably more accurate considering our personalities." So Lisa and I, that first year of her first diagnosis, spent a lot of time together because she couldn't teach. She was immunocompromised because of the chemo and the radiation, and she was weak. She'd had the double mastectomy after the chemo. So it was a year of treatment, and people donated their time to her sick bank so that she could still get paid. And she was amazing, but it was hard. I won't paint a picture that makes her out to be, you know, heroic over the whole thing because it was hard, but she was also heroic because she got through it. And then we got our miracle of 8 years, you know, 7+ years, but we all had these beautiful little bracelets. And they were rubber bracelets that her aunt Maureen had made. And they said, Lisa Tidings or Team Tidings on them. And when we got to 7 years, I said, "Lisa, I'm taking my bracelet off, but I am not throwing it away. It will be on my dresser so that when we get to the next round, we'll be ready." Because when they did her treatments, there was a very chilling line from the pathologist that said, when we went under examination of the breast material, we found multiple regions of cancer cells, most of which were dead. And we knew that it had already gone to her lymph nodes. The words "most of which were dead" after rounds of chemo and a double mastectomy was our cue that we were probably going to fight the battle again. And we did. Lisa called me in November of, 2018, right? 19. And she said, Ruthie, I've got to go have a test done, and Jeff's out of town. Would you take me? And I was like, of course, of course. She said, they said I have a pleural effusion in my lung. And I was like, yes, I will be glad to take you. And that became the second round. And I have to say, I was blessed to be on hand for a whole lot of doctor's appointments, infusions, whatever it took to help her, because that was that second diagnosis. And at that time, we realized that this was not a good prognosis, that this was the beginning of the end. It wasn't something we shared with the children at that time. Jeff knew. He did not talk about it, but I know he knew. And he was busy working. He had changed jobs a couple of times, so he had work to do. And I was honored to be there to take Lisa to a lot of different things that she needed to be at. When you're managing cancer and end stage cancer or second diagnosis metastatic cancer, it is like a full-time job. Just the number of people, of agencies that are involved, the number of medications, the number of treatments. And I was blessed to be able to do that with her. My daughter took over. I was actually doing preschool with Lena at the time. And Beth stepped in and took that back over so that I could be with Lisa.
And
I brought tissues down.
It's okay. And I think, God brings
God
people
put us together. Absolutely.
And I think you and Lisa are a perfect example.
Oh my gosh, I don't want you to think we sat around crying, because we did not. We laughed.
I knew Lisa, and I now know you more. So.
Oh, you know what? We met those challenges with as much humor and love as we possibly could with the kids. I mean, as they became more aware of what was going on, and then Lisa's got more ill, and it got to the point where medicine was, the chemos were too strong. So they backed off of that, and COVID actually gave her a nice respite, because they backed off of that. The kids were home. She had 3 months with those kids at home that she would not have had if they were all in school. So there was that beautiful blessing that COVID was so weird and so wretched in so many ways, but she had this respite. And there was this time when, because I would be over there helping, and I promised her, you won't die alone. I said, when I think it's time for you to stop, I will tell you. She made me promise that. She said, tell me when it's time. And I said, I will. We got to the summer of 2020 or late May, and she had actually in April said, you know what, I'm afraid of people coming in the house. So if you guys bring stuff, just leave it outside the door. Germs were scary now because she was very weak and COVID would kill her. We all felt the same way. So we all kind of stayed away, just left things at the door. She showed up at the farm in May, and she came walking back. I was working in the mums, and I was like, hey, Slim, you finally coming out of hiding? And she's like, I just had to see you. And I said, well, it's about time. And we went on that summer. Lisa had spent the summer before working at the farm helping, because she said, I'm not going to sit home and wait to die. And she had created beautiful things. And she is part of the reason we do crafts and things now, because Lisa started it and then she died. So what's up with that, Lisa? It's rather rude. I'm not going to. Mandy lets us know that all the time, that Lisa started this and then she booked. So, so we still do. We do a wonderful scholarship now in Lisa's honor. because for a high school senior, because that was one of her wishes. One of her wishes was, can you start a scholarship fund that will be in my name so the kids know what I thought about education? So we made sure that happened. That summer, as I watched her slipping away, was really hard. But at the same time, I would not change a moment of that time with her, because we were blessed to have each other. We were blessed when there were times when she was kind of out of it. I would just go over and sit at her feet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, friendship,
Mm-hmm.
love.
Mm-hmm.
You're never ready to say that final goodbye,
Mm-hmm.
but they happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm blessed. You know, we've got 4 wonderful kids that I am so blessed to be part of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They mean the world to us,
Mm-hmm.
to me, to Dave, to the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my voice is shaky, but that's okay. Emotions are a good thing. So yeah, I think you can't be afraid of death, nor can you be afraid of life.
Mm-hmm.
You live life, and when your time comes, you reach out and embrace it. And I remember the day she told me, she called me and said, can you come over? And I was like, yeah, I'll be right
Mm-hmm.
there. And she said, the kids were all down in the Outer Banks with their grandparents for their normal summer vacation down there. And she said, I'm going into hospice.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it's time, honey.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. The cancer had gotten to places where her body couldn't function.
Mm-hmm.
And she realized that. And I said, do you want me to tell you what it's going to be like? And she said, please.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And 12 days later, she was gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ruthie, I know we're going to end on an emotional note, but you know what?
It's a good note.
It is. And I MC banquets all the time, and I use this phrase in the beginning that Jim Valvano once said, that you've lived a good day if you've laughed, you thought, and you were moved to the onset of tears. And I can say that in this podcast alone. And I think this world needs strong women like yourself as examples, and that raise strong families that believe in faith and family. And I'm overjoyed that you were able to join us.
I was thrilled to be asked, and sorry about the tears, guys, but you know what? If you can't cry over the people you love, that's just silly. It's okay to have emotions, laugh, love, hug, and you know, when those moments come and you need to say goodbye, we say goodbye, and we do it with love, because that's how it needs to be. Thank you, Michael.
You're very welcome. And on that note, this has been Mike Hayes with Ruthie, because I'm not going to butcher your name. Get one of her books. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll be back with more in the future. Good day.